You think loyalty means having your boss's back, but what if that loyalty comes with handcuffs? I was just doing my job until the day I was told in no uncertain terms to take the bullet for a crime I didn't commit. Not because I was guilty, but because I was expendable. In a world ruled by power and silence, I was expected to fall so the real criminal could walk free. This is Boss from Hell, and in today's episode, I'm exposing how the system really works behind the suits, the signatures, and the lies. Because sometimes the biggest crime is staying quiet.
What would you do if your boss walked into your office and told you to confess to a crime you didn't commit? And I don't mean like a minor workplace issue, but an actual felony. Something that could land you in prison for years. Today, we're diving deep into a story like that. It comes from someone we're calling Sarah. Her nightmare started with what seemed like a dream job at this prestigious consulting firm. But what began as a huge career step quickly turned into, well, a moral and legal minefield.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to unpack this story. It's about manipulation, it's about corruption, and that terrifying moment when a boss doesn't just, cross the line, but asks you to jump right over it with them, to basically take the fall for crimes that could just destroy your life.
Right. And you might think you've heard bad boss stories before. We all have. But this one will really open your eyes to the kinds of red flags you need to look out for. It helps you understand the real stakes, the dangerous side of professional loyalty sometimes. Okay, so let's set the scene. Sarah, before all this happened, she's 28, just got her MBA. Like a lot of people, she's got significant student loan debt, struggling a bit in entry-level jobs. Then this call comes through. It's from Marcus Hartwell, founding partner, Hartwell & Associates, boutique consulting firm specializing in financial crises. High stakes, high pay.
And right there in the final interview, we hit this early, but really cleverly disguised red flag. Marcus apparently told Sarah, look, Sarah, what I need is someone who understands that in this business, loyalty isn't just appreciated, it's absolutely essential. He talked about clients trusting them with sensitive info and said, sometimes that means we have to make difficult decisions, go above and beyond what might be considered conventional approaches.
And she heard that as like dedication, commitment.
Exactly. She took it as a compliment about being dedicated, being trustworthy. But looking back, it was a warning, a pretty chilling one about the compromises she was about to face.
And the offer itself was just, wow. $75,000 a year, nearly double what she was making. Full benefits, 4 weeks vacation, potential for bonuses. I mean, for someone living paycheck to paycheck, that's like winning the lottery.
Totally. And her first few months seemed great. Challenging work, high-profile clients. Marcus seemed to really appreciate her.
But he was playing a longer game.
Oh, absolutely. This was classic grooming. He built up that trust, made her financially dependent. That salary wasn't just a salary, it was leverage. And crucially, he isolated her. He used these things called project pods, supposedly for client confidentiality, but really, they were silos. They stopped employees from comparing notes, asking questions about weird stuff they might be seeing on different projects.
So he controlled the information flow completely.
Precisely. His distorted reality became her only reality within the firm.
Okay, so when did the first crack appear?
About 6 months in, Sarah's working late. She overhears Marcus on the phone. His voice is raised, which was unusual. She hears him say something like, no, that's not how this works. We had an agreement. You wanted the problem to disappear, and I made it disappear. The method is irrelevant as long as the outcome serves your interests.
Chilling. But she brushed it off.
Yeah, she rationalized it. Tough negotiation, maybe. High stakes business talk. She didn't want to believe it was something worse.
Understandable. But then?
Then, about a month later, red flag number 2. And this one was harder to ignore. She's reviewing financial documents for a client and finds, well, irregularities. Payments going to shell companies that didn't seem to provide any services, inflated consulting fees, asset transfers that looked like they were designed to hide money from creditors.
Okay, that's pretty blatant. What did Marcus do when she brought it up?
Swift and decisive. Shut her down completely. Told her these were just sophisticated financial strategies, basically implying they were way over her head. And then he said, quite pointedly, it's not part of your job description to question our client's integrity. Then he reassigned her, pulled her off that analysis, message received. Stop asking questions.
Wow. Okay, and the third strike?
This one should have set off every alarm bell. They're working with a restaurant chain, serious health code violations. Marcus outlines the strategy: create false safety logs, bribe health inspectors, shift all the liability onto a separate subsidiary company they can just bankrupt later.
Oh my
The
God.
client loved it, apparently, authorized another $200,000 fee on the spot. And Sarah, finally, she looks Marcus right in the eye and asks, "Isn't what we just proposed illegal?"
And his response?
Masterful manipulation. He pulls the car over they were driving in, gets all calm, and explains it away as calculated risks. He actually framed these illegal acts as necessary to help businesses survive, to save jobs, prevent good people from losing everything. He twisted it so that not breaking the law seemed almost irresponsible.
So he's making her feel naive.
Exactly. Naive and subtly complicit. He's normalizing deviant behavior, eroding her moral compass piece by piece.
And after that, things just escalated.
They did. Over the next few months, Sarah got pulled into more and more questionable stuff. Falsifying documents became almost routine. Creating fake employee records for clients, manipulating financial statements to help them get loans they shouldn't qualify for, setting up these shell companies.
And Marcus always had a justification.
Always. It was always about the bigger picture. He made her feel like she was part of this exclusive elite group that understood how the world really worked outside the petty rules everyone else followed.
But the crucial part, you mentioned his setup.
Yes, this is critical. While making her feel included, Marcus was meticulously ensuring her fingerprints were on absolutely everything. She was the one drafting the documents. She was setting up the shell companies on paper. She was sending the emails. He was systematically creating a paper trail that led directly, solely to her.
He was building his escape route, setting her up as the fall guy from the start.
100%.
And this brings us to Meridian Industries.
Right. Meridian Industries, officially a logistics company. Unofficially, a front, tax evasion, money laundering, sophisticated insurance fraud. And the problem was, law enforcement was starting to sniff around. They were getting close.
So Marcus needed a plan.
A cynical and incredibly elaborate plan. The idea was to create a new paper trail, a fake one. This trail would show that Hartwell and Associates, specifically Sarah, had given Meridian bad advice that led them into these illegal activities, make Meridian look like the victim of poor consulting.
So Sarah's job was
to create the evidence against herself. False consulting reports, backdated documents, fake email chains, all designed to shift the blame from the client onto her.
unbelievable. When did she realize?
It hit her about 3 months into the Meridian project. She's literally typing up a report detailing a fake recommendation for a money laundering strategy, and it just clicked. This wasn't advice, fake or otherwise. This was her indictment. Everything suddenly made sense. Marcus's tight control of information, the project pods, why she was always the one creating the sensitive documents.
She saw the whole picture. She was the patsy.
Exactly, and she felt utterly trapped.
How so? I mean, why not just walk out then?
Think about it. She's making 6 figures now. Her whole lifestyle depends on it. She's completely isolated professionally because of those pods, if she leaves. Massive pay cut, huge unexplained gap on her resume, and crucially, the very real threat of prosecution for all the fake stuff she'd already created. Marcus had built the perfect cage.
He knew she couldn't easily leave.
He counted on it. She even tried to raise concerns about Meridian, framed it carefully as legal risks to the firm.
And Marcus.
Calm, paternal, dismissive, told her she was overthinking, said this project was the foundation of your entire career. But then he added this little sting. And you bear a certain level of responsibility for the outcomes.
The message was clear. You're in this with me. Too deep to get out.
Precisely. She even drafted a resignation letter, looked at her savings, browsed job sites, but every path seemed to lead back to potential charges for the work she'd already done. Staying felt like her only protection, however flimsy. She deleted the letter.
And then the inevitable happened.
It did. Thursday morning, March. Marcus shows up at her door looking panicked. Genuinely panicked, which she'd never seen. Summons her to a soundproof conference room. Meridian is compromised, he says. Federal task force. They raided Vincent's office this morning. Vincent was the Meridian contact.
The walls were closing in.
And Marcus immediately turned the pressure onto Sarah. He told her point blank, all the documentation you've been creating, it's about to become Exhibit A in a federal criminal investigation. He emphasized how detailed it was, how incriminating, and how it all traced back directly, personally to her. Then he dropped the bomb. Obstruction of justice charges. 20 years, Sarah. Minimum.
Just laid it out there. 20 years.
Yeah. And then the solution. His solution. Someone, he said, needed to take responsibility for the bad advice that led Meridian astray. He basically asked her to cooperate with the feds, framing it as her best chance. If she cooperated, maybe she'd look like an unwilling consultant manipulated by the real criminals at Meridian.
Instead of a knowing participant.
Exactly. And he revealed he'd already contacted a top federal defense attorney. He'd already mapped out the plea deal, the lawyer's assessment, with cooperation, maybe 18 months in a minimum security facility.
And the alternative.
20 to 30 years. Marcus made it very clear his own role was just supervisory. The detailed implementation, he said, that was all your responsibility.
She must have called him out. You're throwing me under the bus.
She did, and he just reframed it. No, Sarah, I'm giving you an opportunity to take control of the situation. Pure manipulation, even then.
So she sought her own legal advice.
Desperately. She spoke to 3 different criminal defense attorneys in the next few hours. They all said the same thing. The paper trail against her was overwhelming. Cooperation was likely her only viable path to avoid decades in prison. One lawyer was incredibly blunt, said something like, look, from a prosecutor's view, you look like the mastermind here.
Because Marcus had made sure of it.
Yes. And here's the ultimate betrayal, something she didn't find out until much later. Marcus hadn't just contacted a lawyer after the raid, he'd already been talking to the federal investigators himself for 3 weeks, secretly feeding them selected information, carefully steering the investigation to focus squarely on Sarah's actions, painting her as the central figure.
Wow. So he wasn't just letting her take the fall for the client?
Yeah. He was making sure she took the fall for him. For his entire criminal operation disguised as a consulting firm, she was the designated sacrifice.
So Sarah walks into her first meeting with the Assistant U.S. Attorney, Jennifer Walsh, expecting maybe some leniency for cooperating.
And gets treated like the prime suspect. Walsh wasn't seeing a manipulated consultant. She saw the architect of Meridian's criminal financial strategies.
And Walsh had the evidence. The evidence Sarah herself created.
Exactly. The fake documents became proof of her actual criminal intent and expertise. Walsh laid it out. Extensive documentation authored by Sarah. Emails from her account recommending illegal strategies, consulting reports signed by her that read like instruction manuals for financial crime. The metadata proves she wrote them.
Her own lawyer confirmed how bad it looked.
Michael Chen, her defense attorney, had to be straight with her. He said, "They have you dead to rights on paper. I've never seen a more comprehensive documentation of criminal consulting advice." He explained that trying to claim the documents weren't real, that they were fabricated, would likely lead to even worse charges, obstruction of justice, on top of everything else.
Because denying them would be lying to the feds.
Right. The setup was diabolical. Every single piece of paper pointed to Sarah as the sole author of the illegal advice. Marcus. He just looked like a supervisor who'd been kept in the dark by a rogue employee. He had been collecting evidence on her from day one, turning her work into a 3,000-page case file against her.
Faced with that, and the threat of 20, 30 years, she pleaded guilty.
She felt she had no other choice. Pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud. She described the plea hearing as surreal, standing there affirming her guilt for crimes she was coerced into documenting.
And the public perception.
Devastating for her. The media ran with the narrative Marcus fed them. Sarah was the criminal consultant, the mastermind.
Yeah.
Marcus Hartwell, praised for his cooperation, for exposing this supposed bad apple in his firm. Hartwell and Associates' reputation actually improved.
Unbelievable. And Sarah's sentence.
18 months in federal prison, minimum security, but still prison, and ordered to pay $2.3 million in restitution.
So she goes to prison. What was that like?
Psychologically crushing. She described it as more like a restrictive boarding school than a dangerous prison. But the injustice, knowing she was there because Marcus set her up, was devastating. She ended up working in the prison library.
And the library. That's
Yeah.
where things shifted.
Yes, incredibly. Working there, digging through records, legal databases maybe, she made a stunning discovery. She wasn't the first. Marcus had done this before.
No way.
Yes, she found records, cases, mentions of at least 3 other former Hartwell consultants. Jennifer Martinez, David Park, Amanda Foster, all young, ambitious, recruited by Marcus, manipulated, implicated in crimes, served prison time, careers destroyed.
The exact same pattern.
Identical. Recruited for their ambition, systematically isolated in those project pods, gradually drawn into questionable projects, meticulously documented so they looked solely responsible, and then Marcus cooperating with law enforcement, painting them as the rogue element.
So Hartwell and Associates wasn't just cutting corners.
It was designed as a criminal enterprise from the ground up. A machine built to deliver illegal consulting services while ensuring Marcus always had plausible deniability, always had a designated fall guy ready when things got hot. His entire business model was based on sacrificing his employees.
But Sarah found something different about our case. A mistake Marcus made.
A crucial mistake. Remember those documents Sarah created for Meridian, the ones specifically designed to shift liability from the client onto the consultant, her. Those documents, ironically, were also potential evidence of a conspiracy to obstruct justice, and that conspiracy could lead back to Marcus himself.
Ah, so the very tools used to frame her could also implicate him.
Exactly. And Sarah, sitting in that prison library, realized she had absolutely nothing left to lose. Career gone, reputation ruined, already served time. What more could they do? Charge her with more. The potential upside exposing Marcus outweighed any remaining risk.
So she gets released.
Bittersweet is an understatement. $200, a bus ticket, and a felony record that would follow her forever. She moves back into her childhood bedroom, and she starts documenting everything, every detail she can remember about Hartwell and Associates. And she starts reaching out, trying to find Jennifer, David, Amanda.
Was it hard to convince them? They probably tried to move on.
Incredibly hard. They'd been burned. They'd rebuilt their lives as best they could. But Sarah was persistent. And when they started sharing their stories, the recruitment, the manipulation tactics, the isolation, the specific ways Marcus set them up, the pattern was undeniable. It was chillingly consistent. That shared trauma, that identical playbook Marcus used, finally convinced them to work together.
So now you have a group of convicted felons trying to take down a wealthy, seemingly respected businessman who the feds themselves had praised. That's a steep climb.
Daunting. Absolutely. Marcus looked untouchable.
But Sarah had something else. Her ace in the hole.
She did. Something Marcus never counted on. Her personal cloud storage backups. She was meticulous, and those backups contained both versions of key documents, the original legitimate ones, and the fabricated ones Marcus had her create later to incriminate herself.
And the metadata.
The metadata was the key. Digital fingerprints. It proved conclusively that the incriminating documents, the ones supposedly written months or years earlier, were actually created or modified after the Meridian investigation began. Proof of fabrication, proof of obstruction.
So she takes this to an appeals attorney.
Yes, a post-conviction specialist named Patricia Williams. Williams looked at it and saw clear grounds for appeal ineffective original counsel, likely prosecutorial misconduct because they relied on evidence Marcus likely knew was fabricated. But, Williams warned, appealing would mean Sarah admitting her own role in the obstruction, the creation of those fake documents.
A risk she was willing to take.
By then, yes. The forensic analysis came back, confirming everything. Computer experts pinpointed the creation and modification dates. The fake reports, the backdated emails, they all had digital timestamps proving they were part of the cover-up, not the original bad advice.
So Williams files the motion.
A powerful motion. Forensic evidence, testimony from the other victims laying out the pattern, a detailed timeline showing Marcus's systematic setup over years.
How did the prosecutor's office react? They'd built their case on Sarah being the mastermind.
Initially, resistance, of course. But the evidence was mounting. And then investigative journalists started sniffing around. They picked up on the pattern, multiple young consultants from the same firm ending up convicted felons for giving criminal advice. How likely was it they all acted independently without the boss knowing? The narrative started to shift.
Public pressure.
Exactly. It grew, and eventually the U.S. Attorney's Office couldn't ignore it. They opened a new criminal investigation, this time targeting Marcus Hartwell and Hartwell and Associates itself.
And Marcus.
Arrested at his own shiny office. Charged with a slate of serious federal crimes, conspiracy to commit money laundering, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise, basically, running a criminal organization.
The trial must have been intense.
6 weeks. Sarah was on the stand for 3 days, walking the jury through the entire manipulation, how she was coerced into creating the evidence, forced into the guilty plea. Her testimony, backed by the forensic proof and the heartbreaking stories of Jennifer, David, and Amanda, it was overwhelming. The jury didn't take long, less than 8 hours to deliberate. Guilty on all counts.
What was his sentence?
25 years in federal prison, $15 million in restitution, banned from ever working in consulting again. Sarah gave a victim impact statement, and she didn't hold back. She called what Marcus did a form of professional murder, destroying lives, careers, trust, all for profit.
So justice served, in a way. Sarah's conviction overturned.
Yes, hers was overturned, and eventually so were the convictions of Jennifer, David, and Amanda. Legal vindication, finally.
Okay.
But it's bittersweet, right? The damage was already done.
Yeah, you can't just undo years of that kind of trauma, the prison time, the public shaming.
Absolutely not. Finding work remained incredibly difficult for all of them. Sarah ended up working for a nonprofit, making half her old consulting salary. Jennifer became a CPA, but earned less than she might have. David struggled to get his own small firm off the ground. Amanda became a high school teacher. The financial hit from legal fees, lost income, trying to pay restitution before it was waived. It was immense.
And the psychological scars.
Profound, deep trust issues, anxiety, depression. How do you recover from being so systematically betrayed by someone you trusted, someone who held your career in their hands, and then being imprisoned for their crimes?
But Sarah channeled that into something positive.
She did. She started speaking out publicly, sharing her story, warning young professionals. She developed this talk, Red Flags, How to Recognize When Your Boss is Setting You Up for Criminal Liability. Her core message is powerful. Loyalty to your employer should never, ever extend to accepting criminal liability for their actions.
A vital lesson. The case itself became well known.
Oh, yeah. It's a fixture in business ethics classes, law schools now. A stark cautionary tale about how criminal enterprises can hide within legitimate businesses and the absolute necessity of maintaining clear ethical boundaries, even under pressure.
And the money Mark has made.
His operation generated over $20 million in illegal profits over the years. His victims, they recovered only a tiny fraction of what they lost financially, let alone the damage to their lives and reputations. That's the real lasting cost.
It's just such a chilling story of predation. Marcus Hartwell wasn't just a bad boss. He was a systematic predator who used loyalty and dedication like weapons to destroy people.
Exactly. And it hammers home those red flags we talked about, those requests that make you feel uncomfortable, even if you can't quite articulate why, the isolation tactics that prevent you from getting a reality check, and especially being asked to create documentation that could even theoretically implicate you. These aren't just small steps, they're part of a potential setup.
So the ultimate lesson here, for you listening, it isn't just about recognizing the obvious illegal stuff. It's about understanding those subtler tactics. The grooming, the creation of financial dependency, the professional isolation, the things that make it feel almost impossible to say no when your career, your livelihood, feels like it's on the line. The answer always has to be no.
Sarah learned the hardest way imaginable that some bullets aren't aimed at your job. They're designed to destroy your entire life. Marcus is behind bars, but the damage he inflicted is permanent for his victims. It really forces you to think, what are your non-negotiable ethical lines? And how strong are they, really, when faced with that kind of pressure? What steps can you take now to ensure you're never in a position where you have to choose between your integrity and your career? That's something to seriously consider.